All right, I'm here in Ireland, in Northern Ireland, with Minnie. Hopefully I pronounced that right. But yeah, we've been hanging out and surfing in this epic countryside, and Al's been showing us around. Just going to ask him a couple questions on the history of surfing in Ireland and just how he got into surfing and just how it's progressed over the last, 20 plus years. And so, Al, where did you grow up? Where were you born?
I was born in Belfast, so the capital of Northern Ireland, and we spent like most weekends surfing on the North Coast since I was about 7. So that's how I got into surfing. Like my family were all like, Dad had a background in having boats, and some of his family were into trawlers and that sort of thing. So there was always a bit of water in our family anyway. So started surfing at 7 with my brother in Castlerock, just on the coast here. I got into competing at the age of 14. I didn't really understand. I didn't know there was contests and you could do that sort of thing until we were like 14. And there's a bit of circuit in Ireland, so we got involved in that. And gradually over the years competed, travelled around, did a lot of Europe, and just most surfers, just travelled the world and saw all the waves, all the ones you dream of, and did all that, So.
And how old were you when you started surfing here?
So I started surfing here at 7 on boogie board, and then on the progressing on the surfboard. And I remember being 13 years old, and we'd rented a video, and it was one of the Monster Mavericks videos. And I remember watching that in my bedroom in Castlerock, and my brother and I were sitting in bed and watching you guys, paddling with these massive waves. Like I had a whole collection of these films, and I just remember sitting there and saying, I want to do that someday. That's what I wanted to do, since I was like 13. And then when I was 22, I went there, and that was the first time there, and met with Mike and Sarah
right.
And through Steve Thomas, obviously, and went there with my friend Emmett O'Doherty. He's from Bundoran, so we went across to California and met all you guys, and it was great. It's a great experience, and I think that really made me. I remember being out in Mavericks and thinking to myself, we've got these waves at home, you know what I mean? And as soon as I came home, I was crazy. I wanted to go out and find, waves like that, and I borrowed some money and I bought a boat and got all the charts and ringed them all, marked all the spots I thought would break and when they would break, and was looking at all the stuff. Like I remember watching Peter Mel talking about the bottom, the contours and the symmetry and all the Mavericks, and I was thinking like we need to find something like that where it drops off and all that sort of thing. And I went up all around this coastline, up around North Donegal and further on the west coast, over a period of time. And some of the spots I would have gone out to, I still have never got really good, but they're still there, and I know there's other guys further south that have done the same sort of thing in other locations. They've got good spots, and over time we've been surfing more and more waves, and obviously now there's guys coming in from other parts of the world like yourself, and there's English guys come over, and it's turned into a real. We have obviously we've got some of the best waves in the world here, some of the scariest and biggest and gnarliest waves in the world. So it's been great being part of all that, and now you're seeing guys like the young guys, like your son is going to be obviously coming here in the future, no doubt, and surfing like bigger, scarier, waves than we have, but it's brilliant in here. I think I love it here because it's cool, and I can relate to California because you guys get cool waves and as well, so it's the same sort of thing. I love that you can surf here and you can surf on your own. Like we surfed this morning, little left-hander, head high, 5 of us going in the water. Yeah. I love that we can still do that here.
That's what it's all about.
It's all about that, And like, yes, okay, we do have the days when it's huge and the whole world's watching and they want to see the big waves and it goes international, and that's obviously here too. But there's so many waves, so many locations. There's still a lot of places you can go and surf on your own. It's great. We're very lucky living here.
Yeah, I loved it today when I heard you and your friend that was out there say, a surfer. One surfer came up, he's like a surfer sighting, which is, that's just epic. I love it. It's like going back in time.
Yeah, I remember I went to California, and I surfed at, Santa Cruz, in there, and whatever, and Mavericks, all those guys at Mavericks. There's only such a small crew at the time, and we still have that here. There's still a small crew of guys, but our crew's made up of a lot of internationals. So if you go to say North Moor, there'll be there'd be a couple of local guys from Bundoran, and I think there's a lot of guys who've moved in. There's New Yorkers have moved in and they live there now. There's South Africans who've moved in the little area, they live there. English guys come over all the time. Our local crew is actually international. There's very few actual people born and bred who are doing it, you know. Whereas you guys have you've got a core of American surfers, you know, in your location. So I noticed that, and there's a difference in that whenever I was there.
So would you say you see it kind of progressing towards like what's happened at Mavericks?
Yeah, that's
with what we had it back in the early 90s through going into the 2000 with not relatively minimal amount of surfers in the lineup, but you're seeing it going to, I mean, you obviously see pictures of Mavericks now where it looks like ants dropping in on top of each other, and this crazy amount of people just pushing the limits out there. But you'd say you see that happening in the future here, with just the amount of surfers multiplying for the big waves.
Yeah, definitely. I think as well, a lot of people look at our waves, and I think in the last 10 years there's been a lot of toe surfing because we have heavy winds. We've got like our swells are all close to the shore. It's wild conditions, so and they're very slabby waves. A lot of our waves are suited to toe surfing, but there's more and more guys trying to paddle. And as you know, you can some days just are more suited to toe surfing than paddle surfing. But there's more and more guys coming in now, and I think it used to be that if we went out on our own to start with, we would have struggled to find other guys to go out on big days with. Now you can go out, and there will be guys from all over the world wanting to tow. There'll be a few guys wanting to paddle. So it's now possible to surf all the big days at say Mullaghmore or Cliffs, with other guys in the water. But you can still go to these other spots further out off the beaten track and still surf on your own, but it's only going to get more and more and more people surfing as long as big wave surfing is popular. I remember at Mullaghmore, like they're talking maybe 10 years ago, in there 10, 12 years ago, we would have gone out and there wouldn't have been anybody else. We would have one person in the head watching us, one or two people watching us.
Wow.
And now when you go, these guys have got a crep van, you can buy crepes and drinks, and heaven's full of spectators, and there's like all the big lenses, and it's a real spectacle to see.
Wow.
As is Mavericks.
Kind of like Mavericks.
Exactly the same.
How that just went from like the mid-90s into now where you got jet skis buzzing everywhere. You've got boats. You've got every swell. People are flying in from all around the world to try to get a piece of it. So.
But you know what's interesting as well? Like, I remember whenever we were surfing places like Mullaghmore at the start or wherever else it was, we were kind of always tiptoeing on the edge, not doing what the guys are doing now. The younger guys are now going mental. We were always on the edge because feeling our way, because not many people had done this at that stage. There's only a few of us in this country really, having a go at this, and now everyone's coming from behind the peak, and
just charging,
standing in the barrels, and we were definitely on the edge, tapering our way into it. You see that in Irish too.
Oh yeah, now guys are just doing stuff. Guys are going fast track, couple of years out there, and they're just hucking themselves over the ledge on just massive stuff. That's
it.
And you get the airbags now, which make it.
Everyone's popping up.
It can pop up, and you got skis pulling them out. But I mean, whatever. My hat's off to them if they got the cojones to go and throw themselves over the ledge. But it's a whole nother level now compared to what it was.
The first year I was in Mavericks, Nick Lamb was only a little kid.
Oh yeah, he's a Charger. He was our neighbor for a couple of years back when he was a little grommet. Yeah.
Well, he was 14 at the time. Whenever I was out there, he was out with his dad, and I remember he was.
Tony.
Yeah, Tony, and he was as deep as anybody.
Oh, he's a little savage.
Yeah, at 14, and now you see him at a place like Nazaré.
Oh yeah, he's charging.
Cleaning it. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, he was pretty much built for big wave riding. Just he was psyched from day one, just charging the lane and all around. But he's a little different than some guys where he's kind of, we talked about last night at dinner, where some guys just fast track it.
Yeah.
And they don't work themselves their way up the notch. They, go to Scotts Creek, Steamer Lane, and work their ways up the coast into bigger surf, and then go to Mavericks. Nick did all that, so he kind of did his footwork. Now you're seeing a lot of guys where they'll just throw themselves out there quick into Maverick surf, and they're straight out. I mean, some of the guys are getting it done though, and pulling it off and charging it, and hey, I guess that's the way the modern era of fast track into the bowl. it's kind of, and I think a lot of it has to do with the media hype behind it too. You
Yeah,
have the
yeah,
cameras,
picture, yeah.
you're instantly famous, you're on
Yeah.
Surfline that night, and
Yeah,
you're in the magazine if you're you know,
keep going
if
big
you
one.
get a big one, you
Yeah.
wipe out, you get a
Still
massive
famous.
wipeout, you're still gonna get famous,
It's
which,
funny. I saw that here. You know, I've always I competed since I was young, and I did a little paddling thing. Paddled different ways around the world and that sort of thing. And I did notice here from about 2006 for like 3 or 4 years, lots of guys were getting skis. I'd never seen paddle years before. I'd never seen a big board, never seen a 10-foot board in, other than the ones that a few of us would have had. But it was so easy to get on a jet ski. But our ways, as I said, are so suited to having a ski. So you can skip out a lot. Obviously, the safety aspect of it, you shouldn't. But I think in this company, it actually suits better on the really big days to be toned.
oh yeah, you have all the wind chop coming up the face, you're in early, you're down into the trough where it kind of cleans up, and you're,
Like, Moore's just, it's a wild
oh, it looks
place
like a
to live.
perfect tailway when you,
Yeah, but you
it's
can,
like,
you can be driving all the road and you're in the ski and you're getting ragdolled the whole way around. As soon as you let go of the rope, it's like, it just draws and you're
just into the clean part of the
yeah, it
trough.
just sucks clean,
Wow,
totally different.
yeah, that's gotta be an amazing wave to ride.
Yeah, it's good for isn't it?
And so you were one of the first guys to pioneer Nazare with Garrett, and you were out there on some of the first swells.
Yeah, 2010.
2010 was the first year you guys went out there?
Yeah, it was the first year. Garrett called me from Portugal, and I flew down with my friend at the time, and we actually went back and forth for about, I think I went through 3 seasons, back and forth, and it was incredible. It's incredible what 3 or 4 meters of swell looks like at that beach. It's like, and I know that a lot of these guys who maybe watch this will be like, oh, it's not a big wave. It's not. It's just, there's so much energy out there. It's incredible for a beach break. And I remember the morning, like, being on the back of the ski with Garrett, going out and round in the headland, and I was like, oh my goodness, like these like 40-foot things coming through, physically right against the rocks, and Garrett's like, get in the water, get in the water. And I'm like, hold on, let me have a look. And he goes, get in the water, why are you scared? Get in the water. I'm like, but that was an eye opener. But no, that's an insane place. Like,
That's gotta be just a rush. What a wave, that thing's just a massive amount of water coming down.
See, you're on the ski there as well, you feel like you're being hunted. As soon as you let a surfer go, or you're going to rescue somebody, and you cross that like impact zone, it's unreal. There's like froth coming up everywhere, there's waves coming from all these different angles, there's currents, you're trying to find all the little clean spots between the white water.
A lot of cavitation on the ski.
Yeah, you're flying through, and like one ski isn't enough. You need to have, if you're going to be there, you need to have 2 skis. You need to really have the tow surfer and somebody else, so that if the driver goes in and misses him, the second ski's gone before the next wave gets him. Because if you miss him, it's just you're straight in there. And there's a big current running towards the cliff, and it's incredible. From the cliff, it doesn't look like what it actually is. You have to really go out there.
Way heavier once you're out in the
You feel
water.
like you're surrounded. You know, you
Wow.
really do.
Wow.
You're surrounded.
So you were out the day when Garrett got the double XL wave
Yeah.
that was like 90 foot or something crazy, like massive wave.
Massive.
And was that 2010 that way?
No, I think that was 2012 maybe, or 11 or something like that. And around then it was a year or 2
Okay.
after the first time. Like,
Wow, it must have been quite a experience to see that wave, because that thing was massive to see in the videos and the pictures.
it's
Huge.
It's like the whole beach there. Like you see these like teepees come up, and some of them like cap and foam and froth and bounce, and some of them just wedge and wedge. And you're like, is this ever going to stop? It goes up and up and up. And I remember that morning, like, I caught a couple of waves, and I think we'd all had a couple of waves, and then Garrett was like, yeah, I'm not really feeling this type of thing. I think he was, he'd had waves the day before and whatever, and then he was like, you know what, let's go. And the next thing, there was these 3 big peaks come up, and his wife was on the radio going, there's a set on, and it's just like that. And he got put onto the wave, and like I remember sitting on the ski, like watching him come down, and I was just going, like, it was unreal. It was
Just a
he was
giant.
just going so fast, and he was like, Garrett was straight to the bottom. There's no messing, like, just literally in the middle of it, straight to the bottom.
Charging.
Yeah, like, nothing even looking to, get the shoulders straight down it, and then me as well is, you know, a lot of ways like Mavericks, for example, there's a real draw, so does Montmore and a lot of big ways too. Monster feels like it never ends, so you can't ever get to the bottom and feel the bottom and then come around unless you go right in the middle of that peak. You go right in the middle of the peak, so
Just charged into the peak.
straight down it and then came around and the whole thing exploded over him. It was an unreal sight, like, and it's funny because his wife was on the radio going, "That's the biggest wave I've ever ridden." She knew it. Like,
Wow.
it was as clear as day, you know. Too.
Wow. Yeah, he's like, I think he's got like 9 lives or something.
Oh,
I think the
yeah.
guy is, I would put him in the top 5 heaviest wipeouts, heaviest waves ever ridden. I mean, just some of the waves I've seen of his, from the Chopu barrel where he backdoored it behind a guy to the wave that he got, some of the waves he's gotten at Mavericks, the one he went down on last year,
Yeah.
where he skipped down the face and broke his shoulder or his, whatever, his collarbone or something, and then just some of the waves he's gotten paddling in at Mavericks too, some of the toe ones from back in the day, just the guy is, and not to mention the stuff he's done in Hawaii on the outer reefs and stuff. He's just an amazing big wave rider.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool that you got to experience that out there. So back to Ireland, what do you think? You think you guys have waves that are similar to Mavericks or in that range, or maybe even the Jaws size out in some of that still haven't been tapped into?
I think most of the big waves on this island, if they haven't been ridden, they've been at least seen by all the big waves. Well, not all the big waves, but some of us have seen. But between us all, we've seen probably all the big wave spots, I would imagine. Like, I've done a lot of hunting, I know a lot of them. I'm sure there's other guys further in the coast have done stuff, and they know where there's waves. And there will be a day, obviously there will be a day when these things come alive, and if you've got the gear and you've got the team, it'll happen, you know. We live in this part of the Atlantic, and we're subject to some seriously bad winds.
Oh yeah.
And that's why Montmore is so good, because it actually, the prevailing winds offshore there, so in this big region, like 10 metre swells, 12 metre swells, you can get an offshore wind, and that's rare. You know, anywhere in the world, it's pretty rare, but in this country, it's extremely rare. And all the other spots are blown to bits, but you can ride like 50 footer out there, you know. So, the other spots that are further offshore, we get to surf them a handful of times in a year, once, twice, 3 times, depending on the conditions. But they're there. I remember, I went back and forth to California for like 3 or 4 years, and every winter for like a month. And I remember every time I came home, I was just like, it's like being in the world with guys like, you know, you guys from the Mavericks and all. You come back with that drive and that, like, you know, you come back, you've learned something, you've absorbed something. So you come back here with a real energy and a real passion. So everything you're in the ski or paddling, you see these little waves and you're like, that's like Maverick, that has potential to be like Mavericks. You see the similarity and the connection in the wave. So there's a lot of ways like that. I don't think we have many waves that are the same shape as Jaws would be. Maybe the cliffs and more, maybe the wave there is maybe more like that sort of shape. But we have a lot of like offshore slabs and, you know, reefs that are you'll see when you drive down the coast tomorrow that you'll see them, they're all there, but it's so rare to get a lot of them, you know, good.
Well, today the conditions were insane, and just seeing some of the stuff just right here, I could see some of the slabbing waves breaking that had potential, this right up there with some of our waves up north of Scotts Creek, and some of the secret spots up there that get heavy. Seemed like today was, some of these spots were just as good, if not better, with no one out, and probably 10 peaks in a row that were lighting up with offshore barrels that with no takers, but heavy coastline where there's some heavy rocks. If you messed up or you weren't experienced, you could pay the penalty for sure. But I can see in the future, if there's more, you know, people start surfing, more kids in the area, and the progression progresses, I could see this being an amazing surfing mecca for guys that are hardcore, obviously. It's like surfing north of our area, where you have to be, it's not for guys that are wimps. You got to be tough to get out in the cold water, and thankfully they don't have the shark scare that we've got. But
no, we don't have that. That's the thing, our sea, we don't have any of that really, you know, that's if any real threat, really, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously we have the cold, but a lot of the guys that come over here are all kind of used to the cold, like the Californians come over and
Mm-hmm.
you guys are all used to it. And it's just it's not as bad as you think. The air can be cold, but the seas, you know, it's not much different where you're from, you know.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, it's definitely rugged, and you definitely feel like you're in a definitely a more hardcore element, more like Oregon,
Yeah.
or going up into maybe Canada, or I haven't surfed in Canada, but just surfing in Oregon, it definitely feels like you guys have more of that feel. It's definitely a little more a notch up in the hardcore realm compared to where we're surfing as far as the conditions and the temperatures go, but it's amazing as far as the quality of the surf that we've just seen in the last couple of days. Another little rabbit trail off. You told us about one of the Spanish ships that went down right off here. So has there been a lot of ships that go down out in these waters? Between there?
Historically, this coastline has wrecked a lot of ships over the years. Like there's countless wrecks along this coastline, to be honest. All sorts of ships. Like the Spanish Armada lost the galleon here, and there's a couple more then wrecked just further south in Sligo as well. But here, for example, that boat that went aground just at the causeway, the next headland over, and they lost hundreds of men, and they carried all their bodies up to Dundas Castle, to the church behind it, and they buried them in this is what they believe, they buried them in a mass grave there. And if you go there now, you can see the big area. I think that actually this year they've been doing some sort of satellite technology to work out exactly where they are in the ground. So there's a history here with all that. You know, there's people from the time that found gold off that ship and cannons off the ship, and you know, all sorts of things from the ship itself. And only in recent years, only in the last 50 years, you know. So.
And you're saying your wife has maybe some possible.
Yeah, we think there's Spanish in her side of the family, because some of her family are from that area of further along the coast there, and they've got some of them with darker skin, and they think there's some of the Spanish maybe have been bred into the locals obviously through the years as well.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, there's some cool stories about the whole area. There's another one where one of the other ships went aground where you're going tomorrow down in Sligo. It went aground, and it got blown in a storm. When it came in, all the Irish slaughtered all the Spaniards, because they believed that if you came from if somebody comes from the sea, that a child will die. That was the belief at the time. So they'd slaughter these people to protect their own. And one of the Spanish guys survived, and he walked from Sligo all the way up here, basically naked. He was getting into people's houses and stealing clothes and whatever he could, and he made it the whole way to the castle, and he started recognising clothes that were on the locals. So he realised that other shit had come around here, and his other men were obviously the survivors were in his community somewhere. He made it then. He actually made it over to Scandinavia, and then he made it home. But he's got like there's books written about him, and there's his whole tale is all documented, and there's a connection between here and Spain because of that.
Wow.
So it's quite a detailed.
Know how to surviving out of those cold waters and the rugged rocks and the jagged rocks and just heavy seas is just amazing.
Like, even today it takes 3 hours to drive from where they wrecked to here, and he managed to get here on foot all the way up to the castle.
My feet were falling off after being in the water today. After with my 3-mil boots.
Yeah.
That's amazing stories.
Yeah, we have some crazy waters here, like the currents in that North Channel are some of the most dangerous in the world. You know, the whole Irish Sea drains in a northwesterly direction and then fills back in again. You know, that's our tide. If it moves in and out in the northwest,
There's crazy currents going back and forth. And then that reminds me, you said you paddled from.
Yeah, so I paddled from the Giant's Causeway, just here in Northern Ireland, to the Scottish Island of Islay, which is about 26 miles. And I did it for charity, for a Northern Irish charity, Northern Ireland Chest Heart and Stroke. And so I chose that route because it would have been against the tide. It's difficult within reason for myself. So I went out and I went. It took me 9.5 hours in total because the tide was so strong. Any season paddler listeners will know that paddling 26 miles doesn't take that long. But when you're dealing with the tide, I had 3 hours with the tide, and then the other 6 against me. So I was like flying at 5.5 miles an hour for the first 3 hours, and then all of a sudden it was like hit a brick wall.
That's a serious paddle with all those currents
Yeah.
and just being in those depths of water. You'd be going over some serious
Amazing.
deep canyons out there, and
Yeah.
that's pretty amazing. One other thing that you're telling me is, was it surfing started here in 1968? Was the first
It
surfer?
was somewhere in the 60s. I think it was between 62 and 68, 69. I think it was.
Okay.
And there's lots of people on the island that claim to be the first.
Uh-huh.
There's a local guy here, and he came over here in the army. He claims to be the first in 1966, and there's another guy, David Govan, lives out by the causeway. He's locally known to be the first.
Uh-huh.
And then there's another couple of guys further down the west coast. They've been claimed to have been the first, and so it's
There's about 5 guys or so
Yeah.
that say that they're the first guys. But
yeah, but it's the same as today. Everyone claims to be the first to arrive in the spot. So
Oh,
it's the
yeah.
same, you know, it hasn't changed.
Hey, I'm the man, right? That's epic. Hey, my hat's off to them, whether they were the first or they were only, second or third or fourth or fifth or whatever, just to be surfing in those wetsuits or whatever that they had, probably wool jackets or whatever.
Yeah, they made them themselves. I think they made their own boards and everything. Yeah.
That's amazing. Just yes, all of those guys that are surfed back in that day had to be hardcore. That's pretty cool to what the technology and the equipment's come to today from what those guys were probably riding back then. And
Do you know what's interesting? It seemed around the California, and I saw like kids like Adam, you know, all the little kids surfing and ripping. We don't have that here. Like there's been, whenever I grew up surfing here, there's a small group of us, you know, boogie boarders and surfers on the north coast I'm talking about. And now there's definitely a gap, there's a generation gap there where the kids here haven't taken it up. So I wonder, will it actually progress much here on the north coast? I don't know.
yeah,
The West
so
Coast.
hardcore and rugged. It's like, well, that's what Adam was saying today. He's like, Dad, you think I'm the youngest kid to ever surf this wave?
He probably is.
He's like, you think I made history?
Yeah, he probably did. It's hard to tell that, you know, even down the West Coast, there's very few little kids like Adam, you know. So that's why our surfing here has always been fed by internationals like you guys coming in and showing us what to do, and we've followed you guys and we've all been inspired by you guys, and that's still happening today, obviously, because you know we're surfing all the big wave spots, and we've got the French guys, the Americans, they're coming in and showing us the way, so to speak. So we'll probably always be led by you guys. It'll be a small crew of locals that will be following in your footsteps across the world, because there aren't that many children or kids. You know,
Yeah, it's just hardcore terrain. You guys are dealing with the most hardcore elements, just the gnarliest seas. I mean, you can't be a wimp to surf this stuff. I mean, my hat's off to the guys that are going out charging in this stuff. It's to be a kid, not unless you had the best equipment, starting out like Adam has with a 5mm and 5mm gloves. I couldn't even find him gloves that fit his hands. I mean, I'd searched every surf shop in Santa Cruz to find him gloves that are still an inch too long. But
that's why he's paddling so fast.
you know, booties and everything that actually work are hard to find. 5mm. You know, O'Neill's, all these other companies, most of them don't make a split toe booty in a 5mm. Even for a kid, I think most of these companies only make 3mm boots. And Rip Curl is the only one we could find with a 5mm booty, which is pretty.
We used to always wear, when we were kids, we would have like our rugby socks on, and then our booties over the top of them just for an extra bit of thickness.
A little bit of thickness. That's like all day polypropylene right there.
That's it.
It's classic.
Vaseline all over your face, no?
That's hardcore. It's like what they do in the East Coast when they surf. Well, thanks for taking the time to share your story and all the hospitality that you've shown it in my family here. And just blessed to get to experience this country and just the amazing part of the coastline that you guys have right here. It's been a great treat to get to experience it. So thank you.
No worries.
Yeah.